Hi, I'm Lucy from Sew Essential, and today we're taking a closer look at the Janome Memorycraft 6700P professional sewing machine. Just one of a wide range of sewing machines, embroidery machines, overlockers and cover stitch available to buy on our site sewessential.co.uk. At Sew Essential, we pride ourselves on using our expert knowledge to help you find the perfect machine for you. And that's why we've made this video, but we're also always here to support you by phone or email too. The Janome 6700P comes packed full of professional features and is perfect for anyone looking for elevated results, maximum efficiency and fine tuning and control over your sewing. It has a metal flatbed, so it's a lovely, robust and sturdy machine. It has 255mm under the arm. It has an exceptionally large extension table, and when I use the extra presser foot lift, it stays up without me having to hold onto the lever at the back. All of these things mean that even the biggest and most cumbersome and bulky projects or fabrics are no problem at all for the 6700P. It has thread tension and presser foot pressure settings more like those found on industrial and professional machines, and you can fine tune them to 1/4 of a point. So you can set your thread tension at 3, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 3 3/4 and so on, giving you so much more control and precision. It comes with specialist accessories, including a straight stitch plate for delicate fabrics and a professional grade plate and foot, which make it incredibly easy to sew around curves and also give you that elusive, perfect scant 1/4 inch seam. It also comes with a convertible free motion foot so that you can adjust the height and use different feet to get the perfect results. However thick your fabric, you can get it into the perfect position. It comes with AcuFeed, which is a superior walking foot system. The feed dogs on the walking foot actually link in with the feed dogs on the machine and synchronise, so it gives a superior feed. Plus, you can switch out the feet and do specialist techniques like a 1/4 inch seam or a ditch quilting foot with all the benefits of that walking foot. You can use large reels of thread for maximum efficiency and economy. There's a knee lift so that you can raise and lower the presser foot and keep both hands on the fabric. It has a separate bobbin winding feature so that you don't need to unthread the needle every time you want to wind a bobbin. And it's the fastest machine in the Janome range, stitching at speeds up to 1200 stitches per minute. And despite all of these professional and advanced features, it has a very simple and easy to use controls. Then it has all the features you would expect of a machine at this level. It has an excellent needle threader. It has the ability to mirror stitches both left and right and vertically. You can elongate stitches and maintain the stitch density. You've got the scissor snips button to snip your threads at the touch of a button, needle up down, stop start so you can sew without the foot control, a target stitch and a reverse stitch as options to secure your seams. It's got 200 stitches, including alphabets and a great range of decorative stitches, and the maximum stitch width is 9mm, so you can really show off those alphabets and decorative stitches to their full potential. It has great LED lighting and a whopping 91 needle positions, so you can get such precision and accuracy in your sewing. I'll pop a link in the corner of the screen so you can view it on our website and purchase it there. Later in the video, we'll take a look at what comes in the box, but now let's get started by taking a closer look at what this incredible machine can do for you. As a semi-professional machine, the Janome MC6700P comes with a wide range of features designed to make your sewing more efficient and convenient. One of those features are the large thread spool stands at the back of the machine. They come with a telescopic thread guide which extends up like that, and that means you can use industry-sized reels of thread like this one and have more efficient, more economical sewing. It also means that you can wind a bobbin without unthreading the needle on the machine. So if time is of the essence, there is no need to unthread that needle. You can leave that threaded and you can wind your bobbin separately. So I'm going to show you how the bobbin winding works now. You just pop your thread on the spool like so. Take it through the telescopic thread guide at the top. And then you're going to bring it down to the tension disc here and just take it around from the back to the front, and you will feel some tension on that as you pull it across. And then you just put the end of your thread through the hole on the top of the bobbin, slot that onto the bobbin winder, and then you move this across to the left, hold onto your thread, and rather than pressing the foot control, there's actually a button on the front of the machine here that we press. And that will start winding the bobbin for me. I'm just going to snip the excess thread off, and then I can press that button to continue to wind. And that is how we wind the bobbin. To insert the bobbin, we slide this black lever to the right, and that releases the bobbin case cover. And then we want to place our bobbin, just drop it in, get the thread through the guide at the front of the bobbin case there and around the guide there, up and over, and then there's a thread cutter on the side for you. You don't need to bring the bobbin thread up on this machine. You can now just go ahead and start to sew once you've threaded your needle. To thread the needle, I'm going to press the needle up down button to bring the take up lever to the highest position. I've got the foot raised, and then I'm going to take the thread through the telescopic thread guide again, through this metal hook on top of the machine, around the guide here from right to left, and then around the metal guide at the top of the machine here, and then I'll bring it down underneath the dial, up and over, and then you want to get that thread through the take-up lever by taking it from right to left. If you need to just hold on to the thread there, that can help. Just click that into position and then bring it down at the front of the machine. At the front of the machine, we want to take the thread behind the thread guide here, and then behind the thread guide on the needle bar. So just click that through, and I'm just going to lower the presser foot now so that you can see the needle threader more clearly as it swings round. But this is one of my favourite types of needle threader. It swings round in front of the needle and pushes the thread through rather than trying to grab it from the back, and I just find it to be an incredibly robust and reliable needle threader. So to use it, you take the thread up through the groove there, and then there's a thread cutter on the side of the machine, and you can just use that to cut off the excess thread. And then you draw down this lever, and you can see there it swings round in front of the needle, and the needle has been threaded. And before we start sewing, I thought it would be nice to just have a bit of a walk round of those professional grade features. What makes the 6700P so special and so much more like professional sewing machines? Well, firstly, it's got a metal flatbed, so it's an incredibly robust machine. In addition to that, it's got a huge 255mm to the right of the needle. And to put that into context, a standard domestic sewing machine would usually have about 170. What we deem to be a longer arm machine would have about 210, and I measure the 6700P to be 255 millimeters. So that just makes those bigger projects like quilts, coats, curtains so much easier to work on, because you've got so much more space to feed that fabric through the machine. You've also got an extra foot lift. So if I grab the chunky, robust lever at the back of the needle bar, which is much more robust than you get on some of the machines lower down the range, if I lift that up, that is our standard foot lift, but then I can push it up again and I get a huge amount of extra space under the foot, again making it incredibly easy for me to get fabric under there if I'm working on a thick quilt with lots of layers or something else bulky. And you'll notice I'm not having to hold on to that lever. I can move my hands so that I'm free to manoeuvre the fabric under there. Whereas on a lot of sewing machines, you would have to hold that into that higher extra foot lift position. You've also got the ability to fine tune your needle tension. So normally you will get a needle tension dial, but you will only be able to select each individual number. On the 6700P, you can really fine tune things, and you can select 3, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 3 3/4, and so on. So you can get incredible precision and accuracy, whatever the fabric you're working with. You've also got a presser foot pressure dial, which allows you to really fine tune things as well. So whether you're working on a plique or you're working with particularly delicate fabrics, you can get great results every time. Included with the machine when you purchase it from us is a knee lift, so that just slots into the front of the machine. And anyone who has worked in industry will be familiar with this. You can just use your leg to push the knee lift to the right, and if we watch the foot, you'll see that it is raised and lowered. And what this means is I can raise and lower the presser foot with my leg so that I can keep both hands on the fabric. And then finally, you also get the HP professional grade needle plate and foot included with the machine, and we'll take a closer look at those later in the video. But these help you to do things like sew round curves and sew a perfect scant 1/4 inch seam. Selecting stitches on the 6700P is incredibly easy. When you first switch the machine on, you will automatically be in mode 1, and the stitches for mode 1 are displayed on the screen with a number allocated to them. To select one of those stitches, you simply press the relevant number and the screen will show the stitch that you've chosen, and it will also show all the relevant information for that stitch. It will show you which presser foot you should be using, what the recommended thread tension is, what the recommended presser foot pressure is, whether you want your feed dogs up or down, and then the stitch width and stitch length are displayed as well, that are recommended by the machine. And if I no longer need this stitch chart and I want to hide that, I can just press this button here, and then I can see those numbers much larger, and I can then adjust my stitch width and stitch length. So the numbers in the brackets are the ones recommended for that particular stitch, set by the machine. But if I want to adjust that, I can use the dial here to adjust the stitch width. And when I go back to the recommended setting, it's in brackets again, so I know I'm back to the recommended setting. And then I can do the same with the stitch length with this dial here. And the other thing to say about mode 1 as well is that if you've got a favourite stitch that you use again and again, a lot of people like using a serpentine stitch for quilting, for example, you can actually program the machine to save that favourite stitch as one of those direct selection patterns. So you could set a serpentine stitch for stitch number 2, for example, and every time you press number 2, it will bring up that favourite stitch of yours. When you're using the straight stitch plate or the HP professional grade plate, both of which come included with the machine when you purchase it from us, the machine will only display stitches that are suitable to use with those needle plates. And you do have two other modes on the machine. You have your decorative stitch mode, mode 2, and you also have mode 3, which is your monogramming or alphabet menu. And to select stitches from those menus, you just want to press this button again, and a menu will be displayed at the bottom of the screen. And you'll notice that it says there's 20 different cards or menus within mode 2. And I can just use the stitch width dial to scroll my way through the chart. And then to look at individual stitches, I can use the stitch length dial. Once I see the one that I want to select, I just type the number in. And the stitch is selected for me, and again I've got all the relevant information there that I need. Now you also get a traditional stitch chart included with the machine. It's lovely and big and clear. It's got information about the stitches which can be used with the straight stitch plate and the professional grade plate, and then it's got all the relevant mode stitches on there as well, and you can just flip it over to see the alphabet options on the other side. There's a bracket at the back of the machine which holds that into place, and then you can drop it down for storage when you're not using it. But what this means is that if you want to see the chart at a glance, you can. And then you can also use the arrow key. So we're currently in mode 2. I'm currently on stitch number 46. But if I'm looking at the chart and think, oh, I'd like to have a look at some of the other ones nearby, I can just use the arrow keys and I can scroll through the different stitches that way as well. So you've got lots and lots of ways to be able to select different stitches, to view different stitches, and to find the ones that you want to work with. In terms of other key features and functions on the machine, we have our target stitch button to secure seams or stitches with a few stitches on the spot rather than reversing. It's just a lovely, neat way to do things, great with decorative stitches. We've got our reverse stitch button, we've got our start stop so that we can sew without the foot control if we want to. Needle up down, and we can actually on this machine choose whether we want the needle to finish in the up or the down position when we stop sewing, but you've also got this button here to just jump up or down as well, which is incredibly useful. We've got our scissor snips button to cut the threads at the touch of a button, and a sliding speed control so that we can select the perfect speed for our sewing. In the settings on this machine, you can also select how quickly you would like the machine to start sewing when you use the foot control. You can set that to start slowly and increase the speed. So you've got lots and lots of ways to really personalise this machine and make it your own. There's a twin needle button that once selected will only allow you to select suitable stitches and will limit the width of those stitches so that it's safe to use a twin needle. We've got a mirror button which allows us to flip stitches both vertically and horizontally, so you can do things like create the perfect borders for your sewing projects and just make those stitches fit perfectly. We have an elongation button so that we can elongate satin stitches without losing the density. This button here has two functions. It's where we store our pattern combinations, so you can create combinations of patterns and save them there, but you can also do a favourite stitch option as well. So if you've got a particular stitch that you want to use time and time again, you've set it accordingly in terms of the width and the length, and then you want to save that so that you can go back to it quickly and easily. That is where we do that. We've got a start over button for when we're sewing pattern combinations and we want to start over from the beginning. And then we've got the settings button, which allows us to do a number of different things. I've already mentioned, you know, setting the starting sewing speed, also the needle up down position, but you can also adjust things like the lighting and the brightness, whether you hear a noise when you press the different buttons. There's language options. You can really customize things to set the machine up so that it's perfect for you. And then you have your memory key and your clear key here for when you are programming in those pattern combinations. But now let's do some sewing on this fabulous professional machine. In terms of the sewing, I wanted to start with one of the real standout features of this machine that elevates it beyond a standard domestic sewing machine and makes it more like a professional one, and that is the HP professional grade foot and plate. To remove your standard needle plate, there's a button at the left hand side of the machine here. We press that and the needle plate pops up. It's an easy release. It's so much better than having to get screwdrivers or unscrew things or wedge things off. And then I can just slide that standard needle plate out. You do also get a straight stitch plate included with the machine when you purchase it from us, as well as the HP plate and the standard one. And then that just slots into position. And then to replace the standard foot with the HP foot, we just loosen the screw on the left-hand side there. We don't even need to take it all the way off. We can just loosen that. And then we can slot the HP professional grade foot into position and just tighten that screw. You do get a screwdriver with the machine, of course, as well. And we are now ready to take advantage of this professional grade foot and plate. It's a very narrow foot, which means it's incredibly useful for sewing round curves. If you line the edge of your fabric up with the edge of the foot, you will achieve a perfect scant 1/4 inch seam. So quilters absolutely love this foot, but it really will help to elevate your sewing results to that professional level. Okay, so let's go ahead and sew with the professional foot. It just makes use of the feed dogs on the left side of the needle plate. I've got the raw edge of my fabric lined up with the right hand side of the foot, which will give me that perfect scant 1/4 inch seam. And I'm going to use the edge of the foot to follow my way round the curve, so I'll be able to show you both of those advantages. It just makes it so easy sewing around that curve. You can see here, I've followed it perfectly all the way round, quickly and easily. And then if we get our tape measure and have a look, we can see that that is the perfect scant 1/4 inch seam. It just makes things so effortless. Now, another place where this foot and plate comes into its own is working with very small pieces of fabric as well. So here I've cut that scant 1/4 inch seam from the fabric we were using previously, which is similar to, sometimes you might want to sew bias binding or thin strips of fabric for straps and such like. And you know, normally a machine would chew this up, it would not want to feed it through, it would find it very, very difficult. You might have to use tissue paper and find other solutions for feeding such a narrow piece of fabric through. But watch this foot and plate fly through this scant 1/4 inch strip of fabric. You can just see there, it absolutely flew through it, no problems whatsoever. I had a great deal of control. I found it really, really easy. It's on a curve as well as being very narrow. It's just unbelievable what a difference this makes to your sewing. Another foot that is a complete game changer that you get with the 6700P when you purchase it from us is the AcuFeed Foot. So this is a superior walking foot system to help you with things like working with multiple layers of fabric when you're making quilts, or perhaps things like stripe matching or working with tricky fabrics or slippery fabrics. A walking foot will help those layers of fabric or difficult fabrics to feed through the sewing machine evenly. But with the AcuFeed Foot, this hook here actually links into the back of the machine, and the feed dogs on the bottom of the foot work in conjunction with the feed dogs on the machine so that it feeds the fabric through evenly, and it is superior to a standard walking foot where it doesn't hook into the back of the machine and it doesn't synchronise with those feed dogs on the machine. And you really can feel a difference with this. I genuinely do think it grips the fabric even better than a normal traditional walking foot. The other advantage to the AcuFeed system as well is that you can just slide the foot off the bottom. So this is the standard one. And then you can replace that with things like a 1/4 inch foot or a ditch quilting foot. So you can do some of those more specialist techniques with the added advantage of this synchronised walking foot system. It's just fantastic. It works really, really well. It makes your sewing easier and it will give you more professional results again. So to attach it, again, we just want to loosen the screw on the side of the needle bar, and then you can slot your foot over and tighten your screw, and then at the back of the machine you just push that metal hook into the back of the machine there, into the back of the needle bar, and you'll just feel everything click into position, and then your AcuFeed foot is attached and secured and ready to sew. Okay, so we'll take a look at that AcuFeed system in action now. I've got some stripy jersey fabric, so it's stretchy and stripy. So lots of possibilities for this to start, the fabric layers start running away from one another and for my stripes to not be matched. But with the AcuFeed in place, that will keep everything where it should be and we'll get lovely results. So let's go ahead and sew that now. And I can really feel it gripping that fabric, that it's not going anywhere with this system. You can probably see on the video how those feed dogs are working. It just feels so in control. I love it. I'm just going to snip those threads now. And then we can take a look at the results. And you can see there we've got beautiful, beautiful stripe matching. And you can appreciate with a little narrow stripe like this, there is a lot that can go wrong. And, you know, we've just got absolutely brilliant results there, and it's just done so easily. I haven't had to wrestle with the fabric, I haven't had to feed it through carefully or think about it at all. It's just done it for me. And one last thing I wanted to show you with the AcuStitch as well is that you can sew other stitches with it. So there are a range of stitches that it suggests for the AcuFeed, but you can sew other stitches with it as well. And one of the most popular stitches I know for quilters is the Serpentine stitch. It's a great way of sort of holding all the different layers of the fabric together and the quilt together. And you can do that on the 6700P with the AcuFeed and have all the added benefits of it holding everything together perfectly. So I've selected the Serpentine stitch and we'll just go ahead and sew that now. And you can see there we've got that lovely Serpentine stitch, and you can imagine if I had multiple layers of a quilt there, it would be holding those together beautifully. All I would say is it just is going to work best with stitches that go forward, that AcuFeed. But yeah, you can use a Serpentine stitch, for example, and it will just give you those same excellent results thanks to those feed dogs and thanks to gripping those layers of fabric as you sew. Now there is a further specialist foot included with the 6700P when you purchase it from us that I really feel is important to shout about, and it is the convertible free motion foot. So I'm just going to attach it to the machine so that I can show you what all the fuss is about. So the first feature of this foot, which is incredibly useful, is the fact that it is adjustable. So we can adjust the height of the foot. So if I move this screw here, you'll see that I can raise the foot and I can lower the foot as well. And that means that I can get that foot to the perfect height for all of my individual projects. It depends, you know, on the thickness of the fabric and the thickness of the project, but I can raise and lower that foot so that it's at the optimum height and it's going to get me the optimum results. It will make sewing smooth curves more easy. It will prevent pulling on the thread or dragging on the fabric. So it's wonderful to be able to really customise it to get the best results and avoid any frustration. The other part of this foot that's fantastic is the fact that we've got the closed toe attachment on here, but if I just unscrew the screw at the back there, I can drop that off and I can replace it with the open toe option, which also comes with the machine, or the clear view option. You just slot them over and then replace the screw at the back. And I can now use that clear view option if I want to. And it just means that you've got the perfect tools, whatever the job, you're able to get optimum results. You'll be able to set it to the optimum height and you'll be able to use the foot that's going to work best for that specific project. And all of that is included with the machine when you purchase it from us, as well as the regular darning foot. You get so many incredibly useful tools included with the 6700P when you purchase it from us. So you get your standard one-step buttonhole foot, but you also get a stabiliser plate included with it as well. And you don't have to use that to sew a buttonhole, but it is useful to have that included as well. Normally on a lot of machines you would need to purchase this separately. And it's just great for things like when you're working with thick, tweedy fabrics that might have a tendency to get caught on the feed dogs, which when you're sewing buttonholes, often you are, you know, for outerwear, jackets and coats and things like that. Or if you're working with particularly thick fabrics, the stabiliser plate can really help to smooth everything out. So I'm just going to show you how to use that now, but you do not have to use that every time, but it's just an added extra that's included. So to use the buttonhole foot, we want to open the back out like so, put our foot in the back and close it, and that will secure it. And in conjunction with the lever on the machine, it will tell the machine how big to sew the buttonhole so that you don't have to tell the machine to change direction. And then to use the stabiliser plate, I'm just going to pop the fabric on top of it. There are markings on the stabiliser plate that I can line the edge of the fabric up. So if I'm sewing a series of buttonholes on a placket, for example, every time I do another one, I can line it up with the relevant marking and know that they're going to be precisely positioned. And then once I've got my fabric on top of the stabiliser plate, I'm just going to slot the buttonhole foot over the top. And I'm also going to pass my thread through that hole on the front of the buttonhole foot as well. So let's just get that done and out of the way, like so. And then I've got the extra foot lift on. I'm not having to hold it there, but I've got that extra foot lift on, so it's really easy for me to manoeuvre the foot underneath. And then once I've done that and I've got everything in position, I can manoeuvre my fabric backwards and forwards. I can line it up with those relevant markings. And then the last step I need to do is just draw down this lever here that makes contact with the buttonhole foot, and as I said, that will tell the machine what size to sew the buttonhole. Also, if you forget to engage that lever, the machine will tell you if you go to start sewing a buttonhole, and that's great because on some machines it wouldn't tell you. It would start sewing and you would end up, you know, getting a very, very long first side of the buttonhole and then realising that, you know, it wasn't working. But with this machine, it will give you that warning. So we can now lower the foot. I'm just going to pop the needle in the fabric, and I've selected number 23 mode 2, which is just a nice standard buttonhole, and I'm going to go ahead and sew that now. And if I just lift that, I can remove the fabric and show you that beautifully neat professional buttonhole that we've just sewn. And obviously we can just snip that bit of thread off. And it's also worth mentioning that you can adjust the stitch width, or rather the width of the buttonhole, and the stitch density as well, using your stitch width and stitch length dials on the machine. But you know, it's such a lovely, neat buttonhole. It's so professionally sewn. I'm just going to cut that excess thread off so that you can see a bit better what beautiful results we've got. But I think, you know, you can just tell with this machine, it just feels very much in control, very robust, and it just gives you such confidence that you're going to get this level of results. I thought it'd be nice to have a bit of a look at some of the beautiful decorative stitches on the 6700P. So I've got my decorative stitch foot, the F foot, attached to the machine. It's telling me to put that on the screen because I'm going to be sewing one of the stitches that you can use the elongation mode with. So this allows you to sew the same stitch, but you can lengthen it up to 5 times without losing the density. So you can use it with quite a few of the satin stitches, but there are other stitches you can use it with as well. So I'll go ahead and sew it on the first setting, the standard setting. So it's a lovely little decorative stitch, really nice for borders and things like that. But if I was working on a very big project and I thought, well, actually I need to lengthen that out a bit, but I don't want to lose that density, all I have to do on the 6700P is just press the elongation button that I showed you at the start of the video, and on the screen it will display that it's lengthened it by twice, by 3 times, by 4 times, or by 5 times. So let's go back to 3 so we can see this is elongation or standard setting 1. Let's elongate it 3 times. And you can see there we've got that same density on the stitch, but it's elongated the pattern for me 3 times. And then I can go further again and I can elongate it by 5 times if I want to. So I'm just going to press that E button again to 4 and 5. And you can see there again, we've got that same pattern, but elongated. So not only are you getting all of the stitches included, with the machine, you can then play around with those stitches. You can adapt them and adjust them to fit your specific project, and it makes it very, very easy to do that with those lovely quick access buttons on the front of the machine. Another way you can have fun with the decorative stitches on the 6700P is to use the mirror function. And again, this is where it stands out from lots of other machines. If you're lucky enough to have a mirror function, you might be able to flip your stitches horizontally, but on a lot of machines you won't be able to do that vertically as well, whereas you can on the Janome 6700P, and it's incredibly easy to do. So I've selected stitch 190 in mode 2, which is a really cute little cat. I'm going to sew out a series of those and then we'll walk through the mirror functions. And on your decorative stitches, you can use the target stitch. You can hit it at any point during a stitch out and it will complete the last full pattern for you, so you don't end up with half a cat. And we can see there we've got that lovely little row of cats all pointing in the same direction. Now if I want to flip that stitch horizontally, I just press the mirror button on the front of the machine once. It shows me on the screen that the cat is now going to appear in the opposite direction, so the head will be pointing towards the heads of these cats. So you can see there we've flipped the cats and they're facing towards one another. And then if we want to flip them vertically so that the tails are pointing up rather than down, we can do that. And again, so easy. All I do is touch that mirror button once more and it's showing me that we've now gone back to this situation where the head is pointing that way, but the tail is now pointing up because it's been flipped vertically. So you can see now we've got the cats pointing that way with their head and pointing upwards with the tail. And then if we want to do this direction but with the tails pointing upwards, I just press that button once more. And again, it's all displayed on the screen for me, so there's no guesswork. I know exactly what I'm going to get on my stitch out. And again, it just means that you can put these stitches to really good use on all of your projects. You can customize things, you can make them your own, you can create borders in any direction. You can get things to fit perfectly with these features, and it's just so easy to do thanks to those simple buttons on the front of the machine and the fact that what you're about to stitch out is displayed on the screen. I just wanted to show you the monogram and alphabet options on this machine as well, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to go back to the control panel and just remind ourselves how some of the things there work. So to go into my alphabet options, I'm going to go to mode 3, currently in mode 1, so I'll just press the button again and again, and I'm now in mode 3, which is my alphabet options. One of the great things about this machine as well is that lovely wide 9mm stitch width. So on lots of standard sewing machines, you'll only get 5 or possibly 7mm width on your stitches, but you're getting 9 on the 6700P. So those monograms, those alphabets are going to be lovely and big. And you can scroll through your letters just using the arrows. Or you can look at your chart and you can type your numbers in. So I can select a stitch that way. But also what I can do, if I just clear that, I can go to the menu here. And if I use my stitch width dial, I can scroll through the different alphabet options. So I'm in the first alphabet at the moment, which is highlighted. Now I'm in the second one. And now I'm in the third one, and I'm just going to go back to the first one, and then I can use my stitch length dial to select a letter. And if I want that to then be programmed so that it sews out with a combination of other letters, I press the memory button again. So I pressed it once to select the S, press it again, and we can see the S is displayed at the top here, and that means it knows that I want to then select another letter. So I can go back into my menus here and I can select E, and I can select W to spell the word sew. I'm just going to select a space, and so on and so forth. But you have also got the option to type in the numbers, as I said, but I'm just going to type in a long word here because I want to show you how you can scroll along to view that on your screen as well once you've got quite a long combination of letters. So you might be guessing where this is going, but we're going to type out Sew Essential, which is the name of our lovely business and website where you can purchase this machine, but let's just do that now. So I'm just selecting each letter using the stitch length dial and then hitting the M key for memory, and it's selecting those letters for me as I go along, or you could just type them in using your stitch chart, whatever suits you best, whatever you prefer. But we've now got that displayed, but I can only see the L because it's a long word. But if I press the arrow keys, you can see I can scroll my way back through those letters, make sure I've spelt everything correctly, everything's as it should be, and then we're ready to go ahead and sew that combination of stitches out. And we have also got the option to save it to one of our folders as well, should we wish to do that. And then if I want to save that pattern combination, I can just press the FS folder key here, and I can use my stitch width button to scroll through the folders. I can also, that will jump you across the list, but also I can use my stitch length button to scroll numerically, so 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 20. So you've got 20 different folders there where you can store pattern combinations. So if I want to store one, I just press 1, and we can see now that is stored in folder number 1 for me. So when I come back to my machine again, I can recall that and I can stitch that out without having to type in the combination. And then if I want to remove it, I just press number 3. It will ask me, do I want to delete it? And I can press M to say OK, and that pattern combination has been deleted. So let's go ahead and stitch out that pattern combination. Remember, you've got your start over button if you need it. If for any reason you stop stitching out halfway through, you can hit that key and it will take you back to the beginning, and you can see on the screen which letter is going to stitch out as well, because it puts the number underneath the letter that is about to stitch out. So let's go ahead now and sew Sew Essential. And there we have it, incredibly neat, absolutely beautiful. If you want to, you can go in with some embroidery scissors and just snip the adjoining stitches, but you can just see the level of quality on those letters. You know, you don't always get that on sewing machines, but it is so, so neat. Another fantastic accessory included with the 6700P when you purchase it from us is the extra large extension table. So this is bigger than a standard extension table. It just slots over the end of the machine like so. It measures 40 centimetres that way and 60 centimetres that way. So you can see that combined with this incredible space of 255 millimetres under the arm means that there just aren't any projects that are going to be too big or cumbersome to work on this machine. It really is fantastic. And whilst we're on the subject of accessories that are larger, I also love the foot control. You are never going to lose this under the table. You will always find it with your foot. It's sturdy, it's easy to find because of the size. I really do love this size of foot control, and it's got a handy storage compartment underneath where you can store the wire away when it's not in use. And then you're going to want to make use of that fantastic convertible free motion foot. So when you do want to do your free motion embroidery, it's really simple to drop the feed dogs. There's a lever on the side of the machine here. If you just slide that across, you'll hear those feed dogs drop down. It's so easily accessible on the side of the machine there. So if you're impressed with all the incredible features on this machine and you'd like to purchase it, just click the link in the corner of the screen to visit our website and you can purchase it there. In the box you'll find everything you would expect: a detailed instruction manual, that lovely large foot control, some spare bobbins, needles, screwdrivers, thread nets, spool caps, all the usual things. Plus you'll get 14 feet included with the machine when you purchase it from us. So you get all your usual feet, your standard foot, your zipper foot, your blind hem foot, your overcasting foot, but you also get some of those lovely specialist feet like the convertible free motion foot, the HP professional grade foot and the AcuFeed system. Then you also get 3 needle plates, the standard one, the straight stitch one and the professional grade one. And then you'll also find the extension table, the knee lift and that lovely clear stitch chart. Then if you want to take your sewing even further, there are a wide range of feet and accessories available to purchase separately for the machine on our website. Just click the link in the corner of the screen, look for the Janome accessories and you'll find everything you need there. And if you need any help choosing, don't hesitate to ask because that is what we're here for. I've given you a really good overview of the Janome 6700P, but if I've left any of your questions unanswered, don't hesitate to contact us. That's what we're here for. All of our machines come with a full manufacturer's warranty, which is 2 years on this machine. And in the unlikely event that you have a problem, just get in contact. Very often, most problems can be resolved over the phone, but if that isn't the case, we'll collect the machine and do everything for you. We offer the best prices, but if you do see this machine cheaper anywhere else, don't hesitate to contact us and we'll be very happy to help. Your machine will be delivered free of charge by courier the next working day with a dedicated time slot so you know exactly when that happy post is going to arrive. I hope you're feeling super excited about your new machine and thanks for watching.